it's clearly tag season here on Amrita by the Book, and I love it. I love book tags. And this one is from Lady Jane Books, who is absolutely delightful, and I'm going to link down to her video below. And I really like her channel because she reads books that are very different from my own taste. And so when she's talking about them, it's kind of like I am being given a window into a different world. And I really enjoy that. So thank you for tagging me, Lady Jane, and I will be tagging a few people on this video because it's just a very easy tag, and it's something that I think a lot of us think about, and I would really like to see what you all think. Just in case there are people out there who don't know what DNF means, you might have seen it all over Bookstagram or BookTube or just the internet in general. So DNF stands for did not finish, which is this sad situation where you're reading a book and you get a few pages or a few chapters into it and you realize it's really not for you, and then comes that really hard decision where you have to make up your mind whether you're going to put it down or you're somehow going to power through. So this book tag is all about that. The first question is, do you DNF? I didn't used to. I was very much a completist when it came to like TV or film, or it came to books, definitely. And for a long time, like, it didn't matter if I was enjoying it or if I thought it was terrible, I would just make myself complete it. Even if I had to skim. I do skim a lot. I've always been a skimmer. And I make no bones about that, and I don't feel the least apologetic about it. If it's good, then I'll go back and unskim it, like I'll read it in detail. But if it's something that is really boring, then I'm fine skipping ahead to see if there's like an interesting part up ahead. Sometimes there is, sometimes there isn't. But DNFing is something that I think I became more comfortable with because of all the TV shows that I used to watch. And I was actually thinking about this, and I think it's because of binge culture, you know, like once I cut the cord, and I did it very early on. I was like one of the early adapters, I guess. But I haven't owned a TV since like 2005, 2006. And so a lot of the stuff that I consume on my devices, you know, whether it's my computer or I stream it, whatever it is, you know. But because I binge so much, it becomes really easy for me to decide whether I want to continue or whether I've had enough. And I think it slowly started to reflect in the books that I was reading as well. So yes, short answer, I do DNF. But it's pretty recent, and I'm getting more and more comfortable with it with each passing year, and I don't know how I feel about that, honestly. Sometimes I'm okay with it because, you know, life is short and I can feel death waiting for me, and I don't want to waste the years I have left on things that aren't fun or satisfying in some way. And on the other hand, I feel like a different person, I guess, than I used to be. But hey, that's life. If you DNF a book, does it count towards books read for the month? I had to think about this for a second because I don't usually do the whole, you know, accounting thing. I was actually saying this to Nerdy Nat, you know, I don't usually count. And because I am such an e-reader, I just zip through all the books. So it's not even like I have like a physical count, you know, so out of sight, out of mind. But I think, yes, I think if I DNF, I would count it towards the books read for the month if I kept count. And the reason for that is very simple, you know, like if you have DNF'd it, then you did try and read it. It's not like you bought a book and then you put it on your shelf and then you forgot about it. Like, that's not what happened here. I picked it up, I read it, I didn't like it, I put it back down, and I'm never going to read it again. Like, that's what DNF means to me. Also, I didn't mention this before, but sometimes I enjoy a book so much, I don't want it to end. And so then I sometimes get into this weird position where I will save the ending of the book And then it'll be like years later, and then I'll realize I never finished it because I loved it so much, I didn't want it to end. It's crazy up here. Is there a difference between DNF and just putting it down for a bit? Oh, there's a huge difference in my opinion. I put books down for a bit all the time, especially if I'm reading nonfiction, because I'm also like a simultaneous reader, so I generally have about 3 to 5 books that I'm reading at a time. When I was younger and I was in like high school, I used to go through about 3 to, I would say, about 6 books a week. So I would usually be walking around with like 2 to 3 books at a time. And then they used to make fun of me all the time. And by they, I mean my family. I had this little bag in which I would have all my books, and that's the only thing I had. Like, I didn't carry any money, I didn't have any sunscreen or lip balm or anything that I guess women are supposed to carry with them. All I had was a shopping bag, and it was full of books. And everywhere I went, I would have it with me. So, my family would say things like, "There comes Amrita with her bundle." Except the word they use for bundle is, in Malayalam, we say pandakattu. And that's literally, like you'll see people on the street, like vendors who sell things from house to house. We don't really see a lot of that now, but maybe in the countryside. But in the old days, there would be people and they would have like a bundle full of things, and they'd balance it on their head, and they would just walk around just sort of screaming out what it was that they were selling. And then if you were interested, you'd go to your gate and then you'd beckon them over and like buy whatever it was. So that's a pandakata, the bundle that they carry on their head. And that's what my family used to call it, because I always had it, and I was always willing to like read them bits of what I was reading. Obviously not the smutty stuff, but the acceptable stuff. So yeah, I put things down for a bit all the time, and then I go back to it and I'll finish it. So those are two very different things to me. What popular book have you DNF'd? Well, it's actually the series, The Hunger Games. I was not a fan. I think it was one of the more significant books that I DNF'd, and I think that really helped me come to terms with the fact that I was now a person who DNF'd. I made my way through the first book, which was fine, I thought. The second book, which was less fine, and then I got in like maybe a couple of chapters into book 3, and I was just like, nope, this is not for me, and I'm not going to subject myself to it anymore. What book do you wish you had DNF'd? There are a bunch of books that I wish I had DNF'd, especially in my youth, I would say. But I think a more recent example would be Amanda Boucher's The Promise, Heart of Promise, I beg your pardon. I have a whole rant video linked up above if you're interested to know why I wish I DNF'd it. Oh, also Outlander. You should check out my Bad News Lovers video about Jamie Fraser to find out why. Do you ever reattempt to read a DNF? Has this ever been successful for you? Extremely rarely. Generally, like I said, this is something that I've had to struggle to accept in myself, so it's not a decision that I take lightly. So if I've actually made the decision to DNF, it means that, I had significant issues with it. So generally, if I am going back to a DNF, which has happened, like a handful of times, but if that has happened, then it is because I have a great deal of faith in the author, and I can't believe that I DNF something by that person. Or if I sort of like think back upon it and I realize that, maybe I just wasn't in the right mental state to read that book, or if there had been something that just, something happened in my life to make me DNF it. This is what I mean when I say reading is so subjective, because you are not just reading a book, but you are participating in a book, if the book is good. Books are ideas, and they come into you. They're like part of your psyche. And sometimes you're wide open for the things that it brings to your life and to you as a person, and sometimes you just are not. And that changes and ebbs and flows as time goes on. So if I feel that the book is one of those, that I just wasn't ready for that book at the time. And I've spoken about this before, but The Talisman Ring by Georgette Heyer is one of my recent rereads, and I DNF'd it a long time ago, and I couldn't understand why all the Heyer fans loved it so much. And I went back and I reread it, and I'm so glad that I did, because it was so funny and it was so charming, and I would have missed out on it if I hadn't gone back to it. And the reason why I didn't enjoy it the first time, again, there's a whole video about it, and you can check it out if you're interested. This entire tag is like turning into me recommending other videos that I've done, and I honestly, it's not deliberate. What do you do with books you DNF? I set fire to them. I mean, they're just there. What am I supposed to do with them? If it's like an older book, like one that I have a physical copy of, and I've said this before as well, I don't buy a lot of physical books anymore, just because my life and my lifestyle doesn't really support it. So if I am buying a physical book and I don't really care for it, then it generally is like a hardcover or something. So even if I'm not reading it, it'll still look pretty. Hardcovers look pretty. So I'll just use it as decor, I guess. I'm Indian, so we never throw books away. Like, that's a complete cultural no-no. I do donate my books sometimes, if there's like a community library or something, then I'll do that. When I lived in New York, I think I sold some of my older books, like textbooks and things. America has like that culture going on for it. So, and then there's like, you can donate it, I guess also in both America and Britain. But generally speaking, yeah, it just lives with me forever. And especially if it's an ebook, I mean, what am I going to do with it? I bought it, I got it. Do you choose more or less risky titles because of your stance on DNF? I don't think I make my buying decisions based on my policy to DNF. Everything I buy, I expect I will read at some point. It makes no sense for me to like buy things if I don't know if I'm going to finish it. Also, I'm really careful with my money, so I don't throw my money away on things that I don't think I will enjoy or I don't think I will read. I also am not like one of those people that buys books for their covers and things like that. So usually when I'm buying a book, it's based on my history with the author, or because they've been recommended to me, or because I read the blurb or a review and I was really interested. So in each of those cases, I know and I expect that I will read this book, if not immediately, then at some point. So the question of DNFing doesn't even arise. Tag 5 BookTube Buddies, or however many people you want. So I generally don't tag people, but I'm going to make an exception for this one because, like I said before, it's easy, it's fun, and it's always nice to hear how people manage their bookish lifestyle. So first up is Sunny Luca, who has this very thoughtful channel, and I really enjoy listening to her talk about things, and I think she'd be really great at this tag. Next up is Isabel from Isabel in Books, who I know is now trying to do different things, and you should really check out her channel. Next is Divya, who I know is going through a very hectic time in her life, and maybe this is like a fun, short thing that she can do, and just help her out a little bit. I can't tag people on a book tag and not mention Nikki, just because Nikki is a book tag fiend, much like myself, so she's always going to be someone that I tag. Even if I don't mention Nikki's name, you can basically assume that Nikki has been tagged. I'm also going to tag Katie Davis, who usually has like a TBR list that is just several pages long, and I am really interested to see how she manages it and whether she has a DNF policy. Katie, I want to hear your thoughts. And last, I'm also going to tag Literary Musings, who has this very eclectic list of books that she reads, and I want to know how she gets through them. But really, this tag is open to whoever wants to do it. I've said this before, like, all my tags are basically left untagged just because I don't want to annoy people, but I really love it when people do them and I can hear a bit more about what they're up to and how they think and how they navigate reading. I didn't really grow up around a lot of bookish people, so everyone I meet now is basically just filling me up with the thrill of discovery, and I love it, and I would love to hear from you. For more videos, please hit the subscribe button.